Hello, welcome to Waiting for Game, a podcast presented by Melee Stats. I'm your host, Gimme Dat Wheat, and today we are missing one of the best journalists in Melee. Obviously, Edwin Buddy is not here, and to make up for it, we decided to get two of the sickest Fox players out there. One who decides to put his sickness into data collection, I guess, and little write-ups online, and one who puts it into, being one of the best players in the world. So, Ambi, you're here today as the co-host, but of course we have, as our guest today, we've got the world's best Canadian player, possibly. Although this, AMSA fucks that up a little bit.
Yeah.
But we got one of the sickest players to do it. We've got Moki. Moki, what's up?
What's up, man? I'm just, I'm vibing, as they say. I'm chilling.
True chilling episode. Last time we had you on, you were with Blur. I would not call that a chilling episode. I think we berated you and said that online doesn't count.
Yeah, I remember that. I'll never forget that.
Well, if you remember before that, way back when, we did have you on to talk about your run at Gomble. You got top 8 at Gomble. You beat Plup. I believe this was in, was this 2019? Geez, how time flies. Here we are yet again, another historic run from you, and we're happy to get to talk to you. So we're coming hot off of the heels of Genesis 9, the probably biggest tournament of the year. I believe 1,200 people ended up attending for Melee in terms of singles. And you, of all the people, you outplaced about 1,251 of them or whatever. You placed third here. So we're going to talk a lot about what happened at Genesis. Obviously, Jmook won. Cody had a big losers run thanks to you. You put him in losers.
Yes, sir.
But before we get to any of that, let's get into to your run, because I know that when we had our podcast last, we talked about who is the lowest seeded player who could win, and all of the people who are on, we said your name. Now, I don't know how you feel about going to tournaments these days, your preparation, but what was it like going to Genesis 9?
It was actually kind of funny, because the week leading up to it, I was not happy with how I was playing at all. And funnily enough, it changed because I talked to Blur about some stuff, and I got some Blur advice. And because I remember I was playing on stream and I'm just mad. I'm mauling, playing awful. And then Blur, I was like, Blur is in chat, help me out. And he gave me some advice. I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. And then it clicked that night. So I attribute my my third place to Blur. But yeah, I don't know. I feel pretty good about it, And going into it, it was weird because I felt really bad and then I felt really good. And I don't know. It was strange.
Blur advice is a scary thing. I talked to him at Genesis, and he is a very funny human being. I know how to butter him up, and I told him that he's the reason why Kadoran is so good, because he can tell Kadoran 10 things, and 9 of them could be wrong, but Kadoran's smart enough to know what's wrong, and will take the one thing that's good. And I think that unfortunately, it does seem to work for everyone. He's wrong in a lot of ways, but the very good players in the world know when he's right, and that does seem to affect it. But I would not say that Blur was the reason you got third. I feel like you had a lot more going on. This was kind of a long time coming, you think, right? You had a lot of different runs in the past, but weren't able to really put together. Did this feel any different than stuff in the past?
I actually, going into this, I feel like, especially the last year, I had kind of dreaded competition, a little bit. I wasn't really excited going into most tournaments, but I was actually really stoked going into Genesis, because you could even see on my Twitter, I was posting a lot of really cringe motivational things where I'm like, oh, I figured this out and whatever. And I'm happy that I didn't just tweet those things and get fucking 65th or something, because now it looked pretty sick that I was tweeting out that stuff and I did well. But yeah, I was pretty stoked. I'm just trying to focus on mindset stuff, honestly. Not worry about external stuff, because I think that stuff usually bothers me a lot, whether it's worrying about ranking stuff or worrying about whatever, or my flight goes off. And I think I'm the kind of person where I dwell on that a lot, and it kind of disrupts my ability to I guess play with a clear mind. And I've been trying to get better at that, and that's been the main goal. And I'm trying to More specifically, like, I guess, see competition, like, and winning. I tweeted this out as well, where I'm trying to see winning more so as, like, kind of like the consequence of the effort I put into Melee, as opposed to, like, the goal. Because if it's the goal and I do bad, I'm like, well, I just missed the goal and I am really upset. So I was trying to just see it as, like, you know, I've been putting effort in, I'm just gonna try my best and then like go to square one. And I was just trying to see it a lot more positively, and that's been like, yeah, I think I was. That's like the main change I was trying to make going into Genesis, and you know, luckily I feel like it worked quite a bit. So, yeah.
Now I don't want to. Well, I kind of do. I kind of do want to take some sort of credit for not your success, but because I think a lot of people were calling this kind of like in a broader sense. But I want to have your opinion on it, because when we did an episode after the Ludwig Smash Invitational, my mind was opened up by Slug's run, and I said there's no reason why we should not be acting like all these people can win majors. No. I think I specifically said there's no reason why Slug cannot win a major. I said there's no reason why you yourself cannot win a major, and I want your opinion on how you feel in terms of how close you are to this, because I know that in terms of top players, there's a lot that you've, a lot of the big threats that are out there you seem to have done pretty well against as of late. How close do you think you are to achieving this goal?
I think any given day, I think I could win something. And I think I wouldn't want to compete if I didn't believe that as well, too, because that's like a little bit of hope, I'm trying to win. But like, I think there's definitely matchups that are more hard for me. Like, I think it's like bracket dependent, kind of. Not that I like, in my heart of hearts, I do think and I believe and I know that I can beat everybody. But there are people who are a hell of a lot harder to beat than others for me. Like, I think that the hardest for me are Zane and Jmook, probably. So I think if I were to get a bracket that like didn't have them in it, then my chances to win would probably be like a lot higher. And if I get them in it, they're lower but still doable, because that's my main goal, is to learn how to beat them. But like, I think I think like it's like bracket dependent / just how people are playing that day. Like, I'm not like the favorite to win, and I'm not like the next favorite, but like I could just show up and win, so
yeah, it's a different world than it used to be, when it was like, oh, these 5 people can win, but it's really just 2 of them that will win. Very, very different world. Ambi, I know we did an article on MeleeStats.co where we talked about stuff like this. We talked about who can win majors. What was your output on this in terms of like what you thought 2023 was going to look like in terms of people who could win majors?
Yeah, no, I think that the big thing that gaps a lot of people from winning majors is the fact that there are limited amounts of them, right? Like, I think that I kind of agree with Moki. And more broadly, I agree with Moki, like, for varying values of the player rather than just Moki. Like, I remember in Who's Gonna Win a Major that isn't in the top 8 in that article, I didn't want to say Moki because I thought that was too boring. I was like, hey, you're all going to pick Moki. Moki is, like, the clear pick that's not already there.
I said it already in a podcast, so I didn't think I would repeat myself. And then I looked over, and Chroma kept like screenshotting his part of the article where he picked Moki, and I was like, "All right, dude, calm down."
Anyone would pick that. Like, who's like the person that's more likely to win? It's like Plup, like the person next to Moki. It's like, okay, well, but yeah, no, I think that there's like a lot of players that can put it together. I really do think that like, how do I put this? I think that the existence of like the insurmountable wall player for the like the 15 to 10, maybe even 20 to 10 range of player kind of doesn't really exist anymore, right? Mm-hmm. The same way that like Armada like would never ever lose pretty much to anyone that was like below a certain threshold. I think that like the skill level is so high, but I don't think that type of player just exists at all anymore. Like, I think that it's all just like a dice roll with regards to which players can win with which given brackets. I don't think that there's any reason that like Fiction couldn't win a major. I think that like S2J could win a major with the right bracket. It's really just a matter of the fact that like all of these good players are going to be there and they have like a higher chance of doing it. But if there were like 1,000 majors, like who knows what list of players would win them, right? Like, I think it's really just gapped by the number of them that there are.
You know what I really love about this statement is years ago when we would talk about this, right? When Axe won Summit 8 and then Amsa started to do well. I think this was before he won a major. This sentiment was around, but it was like, oh, this is all happening because Armada retired, and the thought process was that like, in order to succeed, you would have to play on one side of the bracket, and it either had Armada or it had HBox, and that if you were a lot of characters or a lot of players, that was an insurmountable feat. But now I don't think that we can really pinpoint that to like any player, right? Like you said, there's no insurmountable player, and that's not because like Armada doesn't exist anymore, but it's more so just because everyone is that good, right? Like,
It's
I think
more
that
about the
Zane,
archetype of player rather
like
than
Zane
the
should be
individual
that player, but everyone is just really good. So yeah, I think it's like really a testament to like how far we've come, where, you know, when Axe won Summit, I know a lot of people were saying like, oh, this is like possible now because of Armada. But when AMSA started winning stuff, no one would even like dare talk about, oh yeah, this is possible because of... No, it's possible because all these players are fucking cracked. Which I guess, Moki, is probably scary for you, knowing that there's all these players that are cracked, but you seem to do pretty well. Do you want to talk about... Actually, we've got a question later in the show about you versus Yoshi, but I guess if you want to talk about like a specific bracket path that you think works out. I know you said Jmook and Zane are scary, but you had a path who, as far as I know, someone that you didn't beat on LAN, you had HBox, and that obviously seemed to work out well. Was there any different prep that you did to get into this, or was it just like finally the stars aligning?
I think the main thing, like, I think I'm pretty good at that matchup. So I like played it quite a bit leading up to it. Like I played Faust a lot. I played Faust a bunch. And then luckily SGJ beat Spark, so I ended up getting like warm up in bracket for HBox, like luckily as well. But I think the main thing was actually there was a piece of Leffen advice from the last time I went Game 5 with HBox, where I went up 2-1 in the last game there, like the Game 3 where I won the second time in a row. I like fucked him up, and it was not close that game. And then Leffen said how he was worried because he thinks I'm going to see the next game as like a continuation of that game, as opposed to a brand new game where we're on like even footing and whatever. And I'm going to like, because I was saucing on him, and he was worried I'm going to keep trying to sauce on him, even though we're like even stocks, and it's going to go downhill because of that. And then that's what happened. So the main thing I just try to tell myself is like, after every game I took, I'm like, this next game is a brand new game. It's like even footing. I just need to like treat it like that and just square one, like, we're on the same foot, and just, you know. And I think that was like the main thing that I was trying to focus on.
I think that's good advice. I wish that advice led to him beating HBox, but that's just that's a personal thing. And we'll probably get into that at some point soon. But yeah, for now, I guess you've got Collision coming up. Obviously, this is probably our next big major. It seems to have a lot of the members of the top 100, a lot of members of the top like 10 or 15 or so. Anyone in particular you have your eyes set on? You got your crosshairs on?
I just really my goal, again, like I said, is just Jmook and Zane. That's what my main goal is for right now, is just like, because I think I can beat them. I went Game 5 with Zane that one time. I was playing really good that set. I don't know. This is like the best I ever played the first two games, and then we don't talk about the rest. But and then Jmook, I think they're just both good at very similar things, and it's very similar things that I've always been bad at, but the meta's kind of like progressed in that way. Like I've always gone for a lot of overextensions and stuff, and I think that they are good at eating that up and like making me kind of just like hang myself, I guess. And I suck at dealing with that, and that's my goal. I want to try to like learn how to beat them even if I'm not playing like my best. Like I want to be able to be like, okay, I'm playing like average, but I still think I can win. And yeah, so that's my goal for the next bit. I wanted to like focus on those two. So yeah.
How do you feel about like so something that I think I've noticed just like as a spectator watching like the top level of Melee recently is that I really feel like the character matchups are less important than I feel like they've ever been. And I think that, you know, Zane and Jmook are really fun examples for you in particular, because I like to think of like you versus Plup in bracket path as well, right? Because I think the layperson would see Jmook and Plup and think of relatively similar styles, but I do think that you know, it really is less about Fox versus Sheik, at least from my perspective, than it is about the individual player. And I think that's true for like, you look at AMSA's head-to-heads as well. It's really less about the character than it is about the player. So what do you think about this?
I think that's true. I mean, like Genesis was a good example of that, where I beat Plup kind of solidly, and then I just got like washed by Jmook. And I think it's like, yeah, like Plup, for example. I like those two are very good examples of it, because I think Plup, like when I play Plup, we're just mashing our heads into each other, and I'm good at dealing with that. I can do that all day of the week. I can just like hold forward W. Fox does good, and like that's just how I've learned how to play the game. But Jmook, if I do that, I just get like CC'd or like slide off or something, and then he just like grabs me and I die. Like every single time I just die for it. And it's just, I don't know, you have to have complete different game plans, I think, versus other people. Like when I play against Zane, I'm like, yeah, I need to look out for the Marth things, but like more specifically, it's like I need to look out for these specific things, because when I play Kador and he's going to do these other things, and it's like a completely different game plan I need, I guess. So yeah, I think I agree with that. Yeah.
Now, tacking on to that question, what are your chances? What are the percent chances that you lose to a DK in bracket this year?
Okay, look, I lost to Akir one time on ranked. Ever since, I've been spotless. Okay,
all right.
I played Rishi yesterday. It was clean.
All right, well, you've got those two. You've got Ringler, Quang, fucking Junebug. Apparently, you've got a lot to deal with. Yeah,
I know.
Character diversity in a 20-plus-year-old game, I don't think would ever. I don't think there's any reason why it should be suddenly more diverse, and yet here we are. So yeah, it's really interesting, because I think Ambi had a great question. People who probably don't watch a lot might see, like, oh, it's just two Sheiks. So I think that it's a really illuminating answer to find out like what the differences are. Yeah, I mean, is there anything else that you want to say on your run specifically before we get into the like larger tournament at large?
Honestly, not super. I mean, I just feel like it was like I'm just happy with it, because it was a pretty hard bracket for me. Because even in round 2 pools, I played Kalindi, and his Falco gives me a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
Like we played a friendly session. It was a while ago at this point, but like I was just getting messed up. So I saw that. I'm like, okay, so I played Kalindi, and I was supposed to play Spark too. Who last time I played him, it was like I don't know how I won that. It was really stupid. I was down 2-0, and like it was a massive comeback. So I looked at like Kalindi into Spark into HBox. I'm like they don't want me to win. They're trying to keep me down. But so I know I ended up not playing Spark, but like I'm happy, because I feel like it was a path that I feel like I proved a lot to myself. So I don't know.
I don't think there really are any easy paths to third. I think, especially at least for Fox players, like I think that it's just like you're gonna run into someone. Like I don't know who wants to fight Hungry Box.
Yeah.
I don't want to fight that guy.
Yeah, no, it's I don't know. I'm just happy with it. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I can't complain. So
now the real question to end your Genesis experience: did you have a hot dog?
I had 2.
You had 2. Okay, I didn't have one this year. How were they?
They were great. I mean, I was plastered, because I had them on. I always wait till the Sunday, because I'm like, I feel like I don't want this in my system while I'm trying to compete.
True.
But yeah, I was plastered, and I had a couple, and they were delicious.
There goes all your third place winnings.
Yeah, dude, they're so expensive.
Well, so what happened, and this is maybe inside, details if anyone wants to, for anyone who's going to Genesis next year, presuming that it's in the same location. Last year, we went into, like, downtown. We walked, like, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes into, like, the more downtown San Jose to, I don't know, what did we do? We drank. We went to, like, a bar. Outside there, I swear it was $5. Like, they see us, we are classic marks. Like, we are just like hicks walking through. They know us. Fucking tourist trap right outside the venue. Now, is it worth it to walk an extra 15 minutes for $5 or $10? I don't know. It's up to you. But for anyone who's already down that way and you see them, check it out. But enough of the hot dogs. Let's get talking about this entire tournament, because this one was definitely something that I thought was pretty unique. Now, going into this, Ambi, you actually weren't on the show. You weren't on the preview show, so we don't know your answer for this. Going into this, I thought that this was an IBW win. Just felt like, Cody's a very, very strong player, and I thought that he had a path that like was the least scary of everyone else. Like we talked about, there's no easy paths, and he didn't have an easy path, but he had the least hard path. And obviously someone got in his way. But who did you have before, Ambi? Who did you think was going to win this? What were your vibes?
This one was really hard for me to call, and I don't want to like be an asshole and say that I thought Jmook was going to win. But I did like his bracket. I will say as far as Jmook brackets go, I did think that he would get at least second. I always like have faith that Plup will do well. I also saw Plup's bracket, and I'm like, Plup's gonna do great this tournament. I'm so excited, but it's too heartbreaking to predict that Plup is going to win a tournament now. I feel like I'm you with Leffen with regards to Plup, where like every single tournament you're like, Leffen's gonna do it this time. Leffen will win, and then something horrible happens, and he gets like ledge camped, and like the whole venue's cheering while the production staff is putting numbers on. Something like that will happen, and then you'll be like, well, he didn't win, but I think this time he really has it. That's kind of how I feel with
We'll
Plup.
get to that.
Yeah, so if you put a gun to my head, I probably would have said Plup. I probably would have been like, this is the Plup tournament.
Yeah. I mean, I've said it before. I don't know why I became a Leffen stan. And it happened so quickly. Like, not quickly. It happened so, over a course of time that I didn't really realize it until I was like just going like, he's the best player in the world. I don't know what you're talking about. Talking about his run here, we have to mention that he had a pretty good path, right? He had Zane, who is a player who he has beaten last year. His Sheik obviously is built for Zane. And he had HBox and losers. That is a person who he I think it was like 3-1 with last year. Sauced on him at one of the summit sets or Battle BC as well. Just like we've seen a lot of him do well. And last year, I think I was under the impression that he had figured out every single matchup, right? He had the Fox for the Fox matchups, and he had a Sheik for the Sheik matchups, right? If he wanted to play Marth, he had like the Sheik that was created to destroy all Marths. And if he wanted to play, if he had to play anyone else, he played as Fox, who's had incredible success over the past years. But watching Genesis, I was wondering if maybe this isn't the best of both worlds, and maybe this is like something where instead of seeing his amazing Fox now having an amazing Sheik next to it, maybe we are seeing the confines of like a dual main. You know, he didn't look perfect versus Zane. I was watching with Abe, and I know that Abe was warming up Leffen right before, and it was just like, yeah, he was missing some stuff that he doesn't normally go for, or that he doesn't normally miss. He was going for some options that I didn't look like he would normally go for them, and then watching him versus HBox was like, oh, that was something. So yeah, I wonder what his future looks like, because you talk about Plup, I think that he is a player who proved more than Leffen this tournament to be able to juggle two characters simultaneously. But it'll be interesting to see. I think that like having these wild cards who can like destroy a tournament and not even just win it, right? Who can like be players who can go on runs and become the best in the world. I think it's good for the game. But I maybe my 2023, maybe my Leffen fandom is it's a little more nuanced. Maybe I'm seeing that maybe he's not the best player in the world.
What's your perspective, Moki, on Leffen? I'm interested in yours.
In terms of what? Just like
how is the Fox doing? I know that like some people say that like he needs to update certain things about his playstyle, or that like maybe the Sheik won't work out. Like, what do you think, just in general, about like Leffen's future going into this next year?
I think it just depends on like that. The hard thing is, I feel like every single tournament he can definitely win, but it is a mix of like now he's playing two different characters, and he decided to pick up a second character at the time where he's also just not playing the game as much, which is like that's a pretty heavy load to pick up on, you know? So I think it's like if he ends up sticking with melee more, then I think he's going to be perfectly fine. But I don't know. It depends on that. And I think even like last year he did very well despite how many breaks he took playing and whatever. But I don't know. I think I've always been a Leffen stan as well. I don't know. I love his Fox, and I think that I don't know. He's still Leffen. I don't know. He's still Leffen.
How do you see him in the Ditto? Because your last 2 sets, offline at least, were both wins on your end, right? You beat him both times. Yeah. How do you think he needs to update anything on that end?
I think he actually has gotten better at it as the year went on. Like, because we didn't play another set since Big House, but we were playing friendlies. Like, there was one session, I think it was at main stage, where I was just getting kind of like clapped a little bit. But I think it just makes sense that he's a bit more rusty in the Ditto because it's probably maybe the fastest matchup in the game, right? I don't think that's like the craziest statement. At least it's up there. And if he hasn't been playing as much, it's like that's like I think the first matchup to go, and then it's like the hardest one to find, like kind of get yourself back into. And I think that like his Fox has shown in the last like year that it's really good against the floatier character. Still, like, he did really well against H-Box typically, and I guess his Sheik was doing well, and it's like the slower-ish matchups he's been doing really well in, and I think he just needs to like, it's one of those things where you need to have a lot of upkeep to do well in the Ditto, and I don't think he's been doing the upkeep necessarily,
Street Fighter 6 coming out in June probably is not going to help anything, I would say.
Yeah.
But he usually wins something every year just to get everyone going, right? It's just like clockwork. There's always one thing that he tends to win, so we'll see if that happens at some point this year. I guess let's also talk about the person who beat him in winners, because Zane went into this having a really tough bracket, right? He was going to play Leffen, and then if he lost to Leffen, he had Plup or Axe, I believe. So definitely an outcome that was not preferable. But he ended up, he beat Leffen and then got matched up with Jmook. Obviously, we saw Jmook win that in a pretty tight set, and we saw him lose to Cody. What's your thought on where those two are at right now, Cody and Zane? Because I feel like that is something where it's really hard to call in the moment, and then you see it happen in these past few sets, and it really just feels like Cody has his number. What's your opinion on that?
I always feel like Zane is gonna because he's been getting kind of messed up, right? Like the last little bit, it feels like. But every single time going into it, just based on like playing him, and also like again, not to sound like a Fox player, but like the matchup and everything too. It's like I'm always like, okay, he's gonna do well. He's like favored to win this probably. And then he's just been getting clapped. I don't know. I think it's I wish I had more to say, because the fact that I don't shows that I'm a bit behind. But I feel like I just need to watch those, honestly. So.
Yeah, Ambi, I know that we were not sitting next to each other, but we were close to each other in the crowd. And there was a lot of betting going on. I think we saw Blur lose thousands of dollars.
Yeah, he got hurt.
Yeah, but one of the things that was very funny to me, and like symbolic of how we feel about this, is that I heard a lot of bets going around for Cody versus Zane, and I'm just saying, if someone asked me like what odds would I give? Would I give 50-50 odds? Would I give Zane like better odds because he's like, he's a top Marth player? Would I give Cody better odds because he's clapped him recently? Like, I was so just confounded as to how to actually evaluate what I expected to happen in the future. And I think that's probably going to be something we're going to deal with for a while. Like, regardless of what actually happens in these sets, I think that when you have a player like Zane, when you have a player like Cody, like two players who can play amazing, you are going to like have this kind of just really confusing predictions.
No.
So yeah, I don't really know what's going to happen in the future with that, but that just is a testament to how good both players are. Cody Schwab, by the way. I don't know if I said IBDW. Moki, we have to change it to just Cody. Are you in? Are you in on the plan?
I'm so down. I'm down. Yeah. I mean, I miss IBDW. I'll say it. Because I'm like, everyone calls him Cody anyway. I feel like IBDW is like a nice little marketable thing. Like, I feel like in the content world, you have something that people meme on that's pretty good. So I don't know.
That one's dead.
Yeah.
But we can get Cody. Just drop the Schwab.
Yeah, I don't like the full name.
It's gonna be in your socials. Dude, Zane just goes by Zane, and then it's Zane Nogmi in his socials, right? I don't know.
Cody Schwab.
CLG Cody.
Yeah, no, that's good. The
way,
other Cody doesn't even play anymore, so like that's perfectly acceptable. The Long
You know, it's really
Cody.
funny if you Google Cody Smash, the Brawl player comes up first. So, Cody, are you gonna let that happen to you? You're gonna let the Brawl player overtake you? I don't even think he was a Brawl player when Brawl is out. I think it's a current Brawl player.
Oh my god.
Cody, you're gonna let that guy overtake you on SEO? Come on. But yeah, time will tell what's going on with them. Was there anything that particularly stood out to you before we get to the big one? Get to Mr. Mook himself, because this is a tournament like every Genesis where I feel like there's something in the air, right? There's more than like I don't know, maybe it's just like how we frame the year as Genesis at the beginning, but I always feel like we go into it and it's just like bursts with energy of like storylines and everything like that, and it's just like, oh, this is what's gonna happen this year. Fat Goku, I love Steven, but he got absolutely fucked up by Cruz, you know, the Pikachu player formerly known as OKP. And I was like, oh, maybe this is like the year of OKP, right? It's so fun to see all these results and wonder, you know, is this what we're going to see? So I don't know if there's anything that stood out to either of you. Ambi, I know that you came in Friday itself.
I feel like we have to talk about that. Like, that's crazy to me. If you told me
when's the last time the first seed at Genesis got 9th place? It hasn't happened since Genesis 8.
That was a long time ago.
It's a long time ago.
I don't know. To me, it was just like a Jigglypuff beat Amsa. Like, that is wild to me. Because, like, I don't know, internally, as, like, not really... Like, I understand Yoshi insofar as it's important to me to defeat Yoshi with Fox. So, I see Amsa play Hungry Box, and I'm like, he must be good at it. Surely, he beats Hungry Box sometimes. That can't be an easy matchup, right? And then, you know, he plays Toussaint, and... he loses. I was like, whoa. And it's just completely blindsided me. I totally would have given that like very fucked up odds not in favor of Toussaint.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
good for them.
No. Yeah, that was what I was gonna say too. But I was just gonna say, I feel like no one's talking about the fact that Toussaint got top 8. Like, I think, because even after that, I don't remember who they beat, but like it was, I know they beat Kadoran and like Sunsei and shit. Like, that's a good run. And I don't think people are talking about that as much as they should, because that's a fucking like a massive run. I don't know.
Yeah, it's funny, right? It would feel like more consequential if Kadoran ended up winning that set and got top 8, just because it's like fits in with our mental model of like what the top 8 should be, and for some reason, like having this big outlier, we're just like, it's better not to think about it. But yeah, right. I mean, Toussaint has always been a very impressive player, right? They've been in the 30s to 40s for basically, you know, past couple of years, and it's been this really weird thing of like, see Toussaint at a regional, and that's really, really scary. See Toussaint at a major, and maybe not as much, right? Like Toussaint, their 2019. Really stood out to me because they had wins on like Ginger and Fiction at like smaller tournaments where those are like the only best players there, and then suddenly you open it up to a larger thing, and suddenly there's losses, and we saw that this year. Shout outs to BZ the Marth, who 6 stock Toussaint or something like that. I heard it was pretty much destruction at Battle of BC this past year, and even the run that they had at Big House to 13th, I think, ended up being something where it was like beat Lucky, you know, something that we kind of thought as maybe not exactly as like a marquee win. But yeah, no, they've been pretty quietly putting in this to the fact where like I remember watching Kadoran versus Toussaint and being like, yeah, I feel like Toussaint just wins this. I don't know, maybe I was in like a nightclub type of mindset, but I felt very confident for them going forward. And yeah, I think you're right. Like it's this weird thing of this is a player ranked in the 40s who got top 8, and yet we all kind of know about how good they are.
I mean,
so
Kadoran I think was not that surprising. given that Kadorn has some other losses to Puffs in the last couple of months, right?
Yeah, lost to Panko.
But I think the Amsa win and the Sunsei win are both like unhinged wins for Toussaint.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely like this year's Kalamazoo, I would say. Another player who had a very funny Genesis.
We'll see. I could see Toussaint going Game 5 with a DK. I could not see Toussaint getting 257th after losing to someone who goes by Edwin Budding Fan.
Would that
KZ
happen to
did
KZ?
play Fox with the box controller. We do need to point that out if we're going to talk about Toussaint.
He still lost to Edwin Budding Fan.
The loss to Edwin Budding Fan is
Scott is a very good player. There's the VOD of Scott making No Flux's rage. So, you know, there's stuff out there to prove that Scott is a good player. But yes, Edwin Budding Fan defeating Keizu was definitely, hey, if you want to talk about moments that like really show the whole year, maybe that's one of them. But yeah,
I was happy that I wasn't the player with the biggest drop off from Genesis 8 to Genesis 9. I'll say that much.
True, yes. I do want to say I'm not sure if Toussaint's gonna necessarily beat Keizu. Keizu's really, really good, but if you look at Keizu throughout the rest of 2022, it was kind of like, you know, that Genesis was the outlier. So we'll see if that's gonna be the case for Toussaint, and if it's not the case, we'll see how the world reacts to having multiple good Puff players.
Oh boy.
Yeah, something we've never had to really deal with. Maybe we'll change some rules or something. Only one way to find out. I thought that there was a lot of really, really cool stuff here. You know, hey, Bonfire made a run to like 33rd. Joji got 25th.
That part of bracket was so cool.
Yeah, right.
The Bonfire BVATs part of bracket.
Yeah.
There's a funny story actually about that part. So basically, was it Sylvie, the Sheik player that? Bonfire lost to Gulu, and then Gulu lost to a Sheik named Sylvie. And then BBATS lost to someone in winners, I forget who. And then
Casper?
BBATS and yeah, that's right, it was Casper. And then BBATS and Bonfire had to play for 97th, which was very tragic for Billy. But you know, like the rest of the bracket plays out, and Bonfire has to play Sylvie for top 64. She was very nervous about losing to Sylvie because, like, if you pick a player like as your qualifying match for top 64, like everyone else has to play like, you know, super insanely high level cracked player, and just like the way it worked out, she had to play Sylvie, but she was like looking for Sheiks and she was super desperate, and she comes up to me and she's like, "Ambi, can you do me a favor?" I'm like, "Yeah, what's up?" And she's like, "Can you play Sheik against me?" I'm like, "I could, in theory." So like I walk over and I play one Sheik Ditto with Bonfire, and she like destroys me. I don't play Sheik. I can't dash dance with that character. And then she turns to me, she goes, "Okay, no offense, I see Fiction over there in the distance. I'm gonna go ask Fiction to play Sheik Dittos with me." And I'm like, "Don't, no offense taken. I don't claim to play this character and he does. So go do that."
But look, it worked out. We'll credit you for that one.
It was my one game. That's what it was.
After having eliminated her.
The confidence boost of beating Ambi's Sheik.
Yeah, before we move on to the actual big dog who ended up taking it, let's give shout outs to I've got a few more people. If anyone else has anyone, we can throw them on. One, Abe, who very, very close to defeating Bobby Big Balls, was up 2-0, I believe, ended up getting reverse 3-0'd. Did kind of work Calvar after losing game 1. There was a 4-stock involved. But the other player I would have mentioned is the guy who ended up beating Bobby Big Balls. He did the deed, was Kumquat in a Cylinder, a.k.a. I don't even know how to pronounce it, but we'll just call him Quang. Quang, the DK player, formerly Yoshi, formerly Fox, formerly Icy, is one of Michigan's... it depends on how hidden you think they are, but definitely one of Michigan's best players, one of their hidden bosses. That DK, man, we talked about DK early in the episode. That was something to behold, because I watched that set. It did not even look like he was hitting all the stuff he wanted to hit. He was like whiffing grabs. He was messing up like guaranteed punishes, and yet it was like still incredibly solid 3-1. Very scary thing to know that. After Ringler just missed, can I say that? he was close. I'm not going to reveal any details. After he missed the top 100, we might have a reckoning. There might be.
They're coming at full force.
Yeah. They felt shafted, and they're all getting really good. So we got to worry about that. But yeah, Moki, I don't know if there's anyone who you saw. I know you were in bracket, so it's hard to bracket watch.
All right, I've got two things. I actually have a question for you guys first. If you had to guess, how many DKs you think will make top 100 this year? If you had to just like guess a number, I feel like that's like it's a scary thought. It shouldn't. It feels like it shouldn't be like scary, but like I don't know.
All right, I've got mine. Eric, go ahead.
Oh, you go first.
All right, well, I think it's gonna be 2. I think Kwang is gonna make it, and I think it's gonna be 2.5 DKs. I think Akira is gonna make it, so that's Marth DK, and I think that Rishi is going to be fed up with never getting his DK listed. Because he really doesn't go DK in tournament as much as the others do, right? So he's never had his DK listed on his top 100. And I think he's going to finally, like, the dam is going to burst. And he's going to be like, fuck this shit. I will show you. And he's going to go, like, all DK at Apex or something just to get it on his, just to get it on his player card.
No way, dude. I think it'll be 3. I agree that I think Kwang is going to make it. I think Ringler will make it. And I think that Junebug, we will brainwash him into going to more tournaments.
That's the thing, right? It requires some brainwash.
I don't know if Akir will travel enough to go, so I'm going to say probably not. He could do it if he goes, I think. Yeah. But I think that he'll stay a net play person for at least a little bit longer. And I disagree. I think that Rishi will go DK in character counter picks, in sets, and he'll take games like he did the one time against IBDW, and we won't put him on the card, and he'll still get mad. He may do more games. I don't think that he'll go a whole tournament DK. If he's out there listening and proves me wrong, we'll do it. We'll put it on the card. You have to place well, though.
Top 32.
Yeah, but I think 3 is my answer, which is a scary number. I don't know.
Yeah.
We could have to deal with this. More attend. That's the problem.
Here's the scary thing. How many Pikachus are going to be on there? 3?
Probably 3. I think it depends on Swift. Because I don't know if Swift... Because Swift was at Genesis. I actually roomed with him, but he didn't enter. So it depends on if he, like, enters. Because he's obviously, like... He is someone who, like, if he enters, he will. Right? So, like... and then Cruz... For sure. I think Cruz, if Cruz travels, probably as well. So I think 3 is like the safe pick as long as they all travel. I don't know.
Crazy world we're living in.
Yeah.
Who would have predicted? Maybe COVID affected our brains more than we thought.
Dude, maybe Jchu makes top 100.
Dude, Jchu's good. Jchu's actually pretty good.
We not to get too in the weeds, but I started talking about Jchu yesterday in the Melee Stats Discord server, and was just like had so many questions, right? They're a very good player. They've played 1,600 sets on ranked. They've never had a tournament listed offline on their Start GG, and it starts in like March of last year or something. I was like, what is happening here? So I sent them a friend request on Discord. I added them to the channel. I added them, and I went, "Hey, congrats on the net play victory or whatever." And then I start digging in. When are you going to stuff? What's your region? I still don't know. I've got 2 theories. They're either 15 years old or they're like on the run from the government, and I don't have answers to those 2 questions, or both. I don't have answers to those 2.
You didn't even mention Ralph. That was just ignored.
Oh God, he exists. Yeah. This is scary. There's 2.
Yeah, I don't know.
The very cursed timeline for mid-tier haters.
True. Maybe if DZ does, if he goes to majors like he says he does, I don't know. Who knows? Maybe we'll have 2 Yoshis on there too.
As long as there are not that many Ganondorfs, I think it'll be okay.
Yeah, unfortunately, Mech's trying to mess that one up for you.
We'll see.
Man, okay. Well, let's stop talking about the the mid tiers and talk about the true mid tier, which is Sheik. Sheik's first time winning a solo major since what? I think the historians say 2004. I say the historians like that's not also something that we should be. But yeah, no, this is like literally like the prehistoric days, basically. And this has not happened, right? We saw Sheik in grand finals of a major and won when Leffen did it, but that was like clearly not really in line with what people actually talked about when they talked about Sheik winning a major. And here this is the thing that we probably all thought was going to happen last year. He definitely had the ability to do it. And I think when you talk about like someone like Jmook or anyone in the top 10 or 15 who hasn't won, it's not really a whether or not they can do it. It's like when they'll do it. And he couldn't have done it at a better time, right? Last year we all watched as he did the unthinkable time and time again. He destroyed Nunn. He destroyed Cody, right? He had some sets with Zayn that got better as the year progressed. But yeah, doing it at the tournament that he really broke out at last year, I think it's really amazing. I was talking to a few people, and I was saying that it's so funny, right? There's a Reddit thread about the mathematically figuring out the top 100 best Melee players of all time. And Jmook is 59th, and it's because they didn't include Genesis or whatever. And it really just feels like a thought experiment. When we made the top 100 of all time a few years back in 2021, we talked about well, how do you value someone who's very good and has won stuff like Isaiah versus someone who has not won anything but has gone to everything and done well for years, like SFAT. And it really feels like something that Ambi would say, as a thought experiment. He'd go, okay, dude, so think about this. Imagine Jmook. He gets really good. He wins a super major within a year. Where does that rank him? And that's just Jmook's entire career is basically a hyperbolic, just an aside that someone would say, just like a scenario that no one would ever think would happen. And yet here he is. He's making it come true. So you talked a little bit about your set with him, but I guess is there anything else that you have to talk about in terms of Jmook, Moki? Because this is definitely something where I'm sure that you, of all people having to play him, expected this to happen sooner or later. But I don't know, were you expecting this to happen this tournament?
I mean, I think every tournament he just can. That's how I see it, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's hard to predict exactly when it'll happen, but it wasn't a thought of if it'll happen. It's just when it'll happen. And there were times last year where it seemed like he was going to and he didn't. So I don't think I predicted it to happen. But I wasn't surprised, if that makes sense. Which is messed up because it's been less than a year. But I wasn't surprised that he won something,
Yeah, I'm really happy to see it finally come true, because this has been the thing that we all kind of talked about last year, right? When's he going to do it? And as the year went on, he still played amazing, right? As the year went on, he got worse in some respects. But the fact that he didn't place outside the top 8, it's insane to say that that was him performing worse than when he was getting second at every event. And when we did the article, kind of previewing 2023, I had trouble definitely saying he was going to win a major. I was yeah, he definitely can, but I couched it in some sort of disbelief by saying one of him and Plup will win a major. I don't know which one it'll be, but one of them will. But yeah, I don't know. Ambi, how did you feel about his chances going into the year? How stupefying is this to you?
Yeah, I mean, so I'm a big Jmook believer, and I said as much in that article that we keep referring to.
On MeleeStats.com.
Yeah. No, so my kind of tinfoil opinion on this is that he really is just beat for beat ripping off Armada's career so far. I think all the way down to going Fox Game 3 in Grand Finals of Genesis 1 and then winning the second one. It really is kind of creepy how he's copying the whole come out of nowhere, get second at Genesis, be this wall of a player that's really consistent and barely ever loses to like players outside of his tier, and then like you come back to Genesis the next year and you win it over like a space animal. Really just I don't know. It's hard for me to not make comparisons when like the analogy is so clear like that. And hopefully this means we get to see Jmook's Fox eventually. This is where I'm always going with it. I love that thing. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that shit. Holy moly. I want Jmook Fox. I know Polish has talked about it a good amount, where it's like, surely you just try it. You just try it versus Hungrybox. Like, how bad could it be? I think it'll happen eventually.
If Jmook is really like Armada, we don't see it right away.
We won't be right away. We
see Young Link first or something.
Who's
Jmook's Young Link?
The Zelda.
Oh God.
The
No. Please no.
Yeah, he'd be fucking mop money with that thing unranked, right? Like, it's good.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, Moki, have you played his Fox?
I have played it in Dittos like a while ago, and I knew it was good a while ago too. This is before it even blew up. We had a session where we played, and then he was like, "Hey, can I play some Fox?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." I was like, "What the fuck?" It's like, why is this Fox like giving me more trouble than like a lot of like Fox mains, you know? And I'm like, it's good. And then it was also a session like probably like half a year ago. We ran into each other at like 3 a.m. on Unranked, and I was playing Sheik and he was playing Fox. I don't think we knew it was each other because we had like stupid names on. But I checked the code. I was like, oh, okay. We just played like a good like hour-long session. No, his Fox is great.
Yeah, I want to see it. I'm with you, Ambi. I'll see it. Why not?
Yeah, maybe
we have Axe's Fox. Why not have Jmook's Fox?
That's what I'm saying, dude. This is the modern era. We have high speed connections. I think that like it'll continue to resemble Armada's career, but maybe we could speed up the part where he goes to low tier. Maybe we could skip that part. We can get right to the good stuff.
Yeah, we'll see if we can cut that out in the adaptation of the script. In the TV adaptation, maybe that one gets cut. Yeah, I don't know. What do we see for Jmook this year? Because this is, when he won, I don't know about you. Maybe it's the Genesis emotion that got me. Maybe it's the edible that Jackzilla gave me. But I saw him win, and I was like, he could be number 1 this year. Like, I was just like, I had it in my mind. I was imagining him. I was like, he won Genesis. He can do anything, right? We've seen people win Genesis and not be number 1. That is a thing that happens. But I don't know. There's something about him unlocking this, him finally doing, the setting out to get the ultimate goal and win a major, and doing it the biggest one of the year. Made me wonder, how sustainable is this? I mean, obviously, like, it's hard to talk about because we are talking about however many different players who can have number 1, right? There's probably 4 to 5 right now that I feel pretty confident in, and then talk to me in 6 months, that number might be larger. But yeah, what are we thinking in terms of Jmook's 2023? Moki, what do you think?
I mean, I don't know. I think he has like the consistency to do it. I guess it just depends on if he's able to like tackle the people that have given him trouble. I guess H-Box is like the big one, right? So it's like if he's able to like figure out that stuff while still being consistent, then like he's on a pretty good path to do it, So I'm a Jmook believer.
Yeah, I think we all are now. We gotta be. I for one am happy he did this right after the ranking period ended. Because
he's so nice. He's so nice.
Yeah, just a
true melee man.
Very kind to us. Because if we had to deal with that, if we had to deal with his like really good records plus a super major, oh man. Yeah, like there was that time earlier in the year where it's like, how do you reckon with someone who has really good records against everyone but one person, but it's not won a tournament? And as the year progressed, we started to realize that there's probably people who won tournaments that should be above him, and he fell pretty cleanly at 6th in the world. But yeah, very, very kind and gracious of him to save his super major victory for a fresh slate. Because if he did that in 2022, God, it'd be so fucked up.
It was fucked up enough already. So
Yeah, I actually leaked to Cody by accident that he was fourth the day before it came out, but he was the best fourth player in the world. I said that last time we had an episode. I said if he's fourth, but yeah, now that we know he is fourth, he is the only person with a positive record, I believe, against everyone else in the top 5. Everyone else has had negative records. I think 1 year PPMT was fourth, and he had a 50-50 record. He was tied.
Him and Amsa both have that, right? If I remember right.
Yeah, I'm sure that Amsa has it as well, considering he's got positive records on what, like HBox, definitely Mango, a couple of but the fact that like Cody is positive while also having a really lopsided record against Mango,
yeah,
it's really insane. But yeah, I guess that's where we talk about the. Speaking of which, Cody didn't get the chance to play Mango this tournament, and that was because Cody was not in losers that early, even though he got sent to losers a little early. Mango kind of took the cake there. We didn't get to see it. It wasn't on stream, but Mango versus Taj happened, a rematch of Genesis 2. And
can't believe they didn't stream that. It was.
Look, Star GG went down. Now, was I with Blur and I was saying, how did they not stream this? Yes. A couple incendiary takes were being thrown around. But Star GG went down this time. Off stream, Dr. Mario versus Mewtwo happened. And at the moment, there was a lot going on. There were a lot of thoughts. I was in my bed at Genesis reading the Reddit threads about this. I will say that no one in the Reddit threads was happy. Moki, you yourself, you had a very good Twitter, a tweet longer about this. No. Or maybe it was just a tweet. I don't remember.
Yeah.
It felt, if it was just a tweet, it felt like it had the gravity of a tweet longer.
Okay.
But there are definitely a lot of thoughts going around this. And since then, Mango has posted about this. Mango has put out a tweet longer about kind of his feelings about the game. And what Genesis, how that was related. But I guess, Moki, do you want to kind of talk about like what you were thinking about this at the moment, and then how that's changed?
Well, I think as like a competitor, I was bummed, and I was pretty annoyed because the way I saw it was like, like Mango is the GOAT, and it's the biggest tournament of the year, and it just kind of felt like, I guess, a little bit of a slap in the face to like the competitors and the whatever, to like, I guess, sandbag at the tournament, especially not even like beforehand, just kind of like on a whim, just be like, okay, I'm just doing this, and like throwing it away. And since we actually talked a lot at the after party. We were both plastered, and like every single time we made eye contact, we'd like hug, and we're on good terms now. We're good. And I understand where he's coming from. I think he was just going through a lot of like stuff mentally in terms of like competition, and I don't think he handled it the best way, which is like, fair, because that's what people do. They don't really handle that kind of stuff that well, typically, or a lot of people don't. That's like the human thing, is to like, if you're not doing well, a lot of the time you're not going to like handle it perfectly, because everyone's human. So I think, I don't know. I think he had a very good twit longer on it, and I don't know. I think it makes a lot of sense, and I just hope he's able to sort out everything in terms of like his, I guess, like mental gripes with the game, and then come back this year and just, be Mango and hopefully just, have a killer year. So
we've seen it before. I would definitely not be surprised if it happened again. But yeah, Ampi, what were you thinking about this? I know that as to the people who run the rankings, we might have different thoughts on this, but I want to hear your thoughts on what kind of, like, how you felt at the moment, and then how that's changed, if it's changed.
Yeah, no, I had maybe a slightly different opinion. I really didn't mind him going Dr. Mario in winners. I think that the fact that we got to see a Dr. Mario versus Mewtwo set, like, I think Mango does have a history of losing in winners in these types of funny ways, right? Like, the classic Pound set with Silent Wolf, where they played Link Dittos and stuff like that. I was really disappointed that he didn't pull it together in losers, right? Like where he lost to Mateo. That to me was the big one. Everyone points to the Taj set, and I'm like, the Taj set was whatever. It was good fun. It was great content. But like, I did kind of hold copium a little bit to, okay, Mango's gonna put himself in losers out of rage and then beat like 100 people. That would have been awesome. That would have been cool. I would not have minded that at all. I think you know, and like we've said, like the twit longer that he posted was good. He was just like not in a good place, and he like kind of lashed out. So, you know, there's no real need to dwell on it, and we all know that he's like capable of winning all these crazy tournaments and, you know, beating all these good players. But I was mostly disappointed in the loser set. Like I think that him going Dr. Mario against Taj was cool. I was like, yeah, okay, whatever, not a big deal. So, a lot of unneeded gripes towards that set in particular, in my opinion. But I do agree with Moki on pretty much everything else, though.
Yeah, I will say, when this first happened at Genesis, before the twit longer came out, I was definitely formulating how I feel about this. And if the twit longer never came out, this would probably be an episode that would not be as kind. But there's a lot going on here. One, I do think it's really important for people to understand that, like, this is not really... It's talking about what's owed to players and what is owed to the whole scene, right? You know, Mango doesn't owe the scene going his mains or trying hard, right? That's not a thing that's really owed to anyone. But it's also this thing of, you know, there's like a half measure involved. I remember I talked to Chroma about this at the event, about whether, like, how people will think about this in terms of rankings, which I was not already... I didn't want to think about how people would think about it in terms of rankings, but PTAS made a tweet about it, so we were kind of forced to. About, you know, PTAS was like, yeah, people will view this as a DQ. And I think probably people will not really care. I talked to Chrome. I said maybe if there's a coin flip scenario where it's him versus someone who's, like, really amazingly good, and they both, like, have, like, insanely similar records and resumes, maybe someone not caring about the biggest tournament of the year might be a factor. I don't think it'll really come into play, but we'll see. But yeah, mainly the thing was, I said to Chroma, you know, Melee is better when Mango is playing. But if he's doing this isn't playing, right? I'd rather have him DQ at that point. Having no Mango is better than having this Mango that seemed to be lashing out, right? I will say, from the perspective of the rankings, when we had it all finalized, there was really no way of me knowing who was going to be number 2 or number 3 before it actually got finalized. I saw all the ballots as they came in, of course, but it was literally so close, so neck and neck, that it literally took until the final calculations were done for me to actually know. And I had Mango second. I know Ambi did. I think Edwin did as well. You know, Melee stats tended to have Mango second just for the tournament victories he had were bigger. But when Amsu got ranked second, I was a little... for like 1 second, I was like, oh no. and I do think it's important to talk about, like, you know, the rankings are something that obviously I probably have an unbiased, or I have a very biased opinion on. But it's like a pretty important thing to the scene. It's an institution that should not be swayed by stuff like this. And I have to wonder if, you know, if there's anything that happens like this. I don't think that Mango intends to do this, but people booed when he got ranked as third. Like, Genesis did a live reveal where they were showing them throughout the day, and when Mango's card came up, people were in the crowd and they booed. And I'm probably not thrilled about the idea that, you know, one player's actions can make people feel that way. But I don't know. I think that Mango putting out that twit longer, it was one of the most vulnerable things that I've seen from him. It was very good to be able to see a side of him that kind of acknowledges all the things that sometimes people don't know if Mango actually acknowledges. But he's really a more thoughtful guy than I think that people give him credit for, and stuff like this makes me think that. Now, I wonder if this is going to happen when we go into 2023 top 100, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. I think that if Mango wants to quit Melee, or if Mango wants to take a break, you know, Mango's not signed up for Collision. He's not signed up for Major Upset. He's not signed up for Battle of BC. If he wants to take half a year off, take a year off, I don't think that anything is, like, owed to him. He's done so much for the community. He's given us so much that I think that's fine. I mean, he's able to do that. I wish that there is a, you know, healthy way that he's able to play Melee. And I think that we'll get there, because, like I said, when Mango's playing super well, when he is out there destroying Zane with Fox or something, or like beating H-Box in a way that no one else does, however he does it, there's really few things better in Melee than that. And you don't even have to be a Mango fan to say that. So it's definitely a lot of mixed feelings, especially because a lot of the feelings were about whether or not this is pertaining to his ranking, whether he feels shafted. But at the end of the day, I think that he illuminated his feelings really well in the Twit Longer. And I think that everything that's been said here I agree with. It's just interesting to see where he goes from here, because I would not be surprised to see him end number 1. That's what we know of Mango, right? This is what he tends to do. So we will see about that for sure.
I do just want to briefly interject as the guy that did the final calculation. I wrote about this a little bit the other day, but I really think people aren't properly appreciating how close those two really were. I think that this is something that I always had issues with the way the top 100 was done, and now that I have it in my hands, I can fix it, right? But people just put the number, and they're like, okay, well, this is the number that's your score, and that's what you're at. And there's like a very easy like mental picture as a competitor where you're like, they all put me here, they all put me at X number, all the panelists, they're all out to get me, right? And I think that like,
I cannot believe I am one spot worse than this person, right?
Right. And with AMSA and Mango in particular, it was really close. I mentioned that there are 29 panelists, and it was like 12 put Mango higher, 15 put AMSA higher, and 2 tied them. Like that's like as hard as it gets to split them. I think like it was one of the most contested top 10 spots probably ever. So like I totally get it from the competitor's perspective, where like the number matters a lot. But I do wish that there was like a way that this could be communicated in a slightly healthier way to competitors. Like I remember when the tiers came out for the Path to PGR way back when, where players were released in just like big chunks, where they were they're like, okay, well, these players are like roughly equal, but they're like slightly above, slightly below XYZ. And I thought that was like pretty great. Like it's not what we really want or what we've come to expect in the community, but I do think that that's like a more wholesome perspective on like how the rankings are kind of actually done from a data perspective, where it's like, okay, well, like these are the players that are over here. Like we all generally agree on like who's 11 through 15, right? Like that's there may be some slight difference between panelists between who gets like the adjacent spot or whatever, but it's like being able to communicate that these players are super, super close is, I think, really cool and necessary for like people to have a healthier perspective on it. But we all know Mango's good. We all know that him and AMSA were very, very competitive. So wouldn't be shocked to see like another good year from Mango moving forward.
It is interesting because this gets brought up in a very publicized thing, right? It's Mango versus AMSA. It's 2 of the most popular players in the world, 2 of the best players in the world. But it's interesting because this obviously has effects throughout the list, and like you said, we really don't have access to the raw data for all the lists throughout the past 10 years this has been done, and even if we did, the normalization processes that they used are different, and the scoring system they used are probably different. But I think that we can say without a doubt that this was one of the closest, like really important ranks of all time. Really, and I think this way is with every single tournament, that like if there's one more tournament or one fewer tournament, change everything. But it really felt like this was coming down to like the closest that you could ever come down to. so it's an interesting thing. I don't think that there's any ill will towards it, and I hope that continues. And I hope to see Mango do whatever he wants to do, whether that's beating up everyone at Big House 11, or if it's I don't know, streaming Valorant again. But yeah, we're flying through. Should we reveal that this is pre-recorded?
Sorry, chat.
Maybe
We're not
there's
looking at you.
Yeah. Well, hello to everyone in chat, but yes, we cannot look at you. Maybe there's something about these pre-recordings. We don't. We don't. Or you know what? Maybe it's no Edwin.
Yeah, that probably is it. He would have dragged on
probably,
for
yeah.
20 minutes.
Yeah, he's probably annoying someone at Disney World right now. He's taking a lot of Pluto's time.
The poor guy in the costume is like, please get this guy away from me.
I don't know who Zane is, kid. No, we can't make fun of him too much. Moki, you revealed before the show that you cried at the fireworks. He also cried at the fireworks.
They were beautiful. I don't know. I don't know what else to say.
Did you go on the roller coasters? Apparently, he's afraid of them.
So he's in the Florida one, right? Because I went to the LA one, but I went on I went on the roller coasters because I went with it was like me, Axe, Vector Man. I don't want to it was a bunch of people like Spud, and we just did like the whole thing, or I mean, as much of the whole thing as you can do in like a day. So we went on like the Cars roller coaster like 3 times, and like whatever. Right? It was dope. Yeah.
You got the hat in the background, right? Is that it over there?
Yeah, it's right there.
We have an emote in our Discord about I think Dreffen wearing that hat.
Dreffen in the hat. Yeah.
I recognize it.
Dude, so he didn't even come with us.
Yeah,
because we decided there at Disneyland, we're like, okay, all of us are gonna be like the crew, because that's when they were doing like crews for Summit, right? We're like, we're all gonna be on a crew. Axe pick us, and it was the first time we didn't pick Amsa. So looking back, I'm like, that's pretty sad. But it was for the cause, and and then like we're like, we need someone else. We need to just like I guess like recruit somebody, and then we're like, all right, Dreffen, Dreffen, I'm sorry, I know you didn't come with us, but you're wearing this hat, and there's nothing you can do about it, man. You're part of the crew.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And I bet he was gung-ho.
I don't know. He's told me he still had it. Like months later, we like played or something. He's like, I still have the hat. Yes. Hell yeah.
Dreffen rocks. Yeah. I looked into going into the Disney World, the Florida location, after Smash World Tour last year, but I ended up not doing it. Maybe I should have. It's making everyone cry. I don't know.
Yeah.
I get. Throw a major at Disney World. Let's see if we can do that. Where's Blur?
You think we could throw a copyright infringement event at the origins of intellectual property law?
Throw a PM event at Disney World.
We'll get like jumped by the lawyers or something.
Yeah, probably. We just get like detained on the spot, and all the Disney adults are like, they probably deserved it.
They extradite us to Nintendo.
Yeah, dude, it's the epic Mickey game. They're in cahoots. Ever since that, they've been working together to get our asses out of here. But yeah, Blur, you talk a big game about making stuff happen. That's your challenge.
Yeah.
It's your challenge for 2023. I'll accept a major in Disneyland, but the goal is a major at Disney World. This is more scheming. This is like when I tried to get Billy Bo Peep to go to tournaments by offering him $10.
And here he is. Here he is defeating Bobby Big Balls and registering for stuff.
He 3-0'd Bobby Big Balls a week later. Coincidence? I think not.
Dude, we roped me in too. I also had to promise him $10. I'm like, I don't know if I want to do this.
Yeah, I didn't even ask.
Yeah,
I said, we'll
like,
both
Andy's
give you
gonna
$10.
I was like, okay, I guess that's what we're doing.
It's okay. I said he had to win at Verdugo, and not only does he not live in the region, but Fiction at Verdugo is like the most unstoppable force in the game. So we will see. I think we'll be saving our $10. Let's move along to one of our last segments of the day. We have questions from our patrons, and we talk a big game every single episode about how they suck or if they're good. I think we got, you know what? We got like 4 questions, and we picked 3 of them. They did not ask questions because they got distracted by something else. But I think we got good questions. So
okay.
We came out of the other end pretty good, even if no one actually asked them. We had some good ones. So I'll go first. This one is from Question Superstar SSB Seal, someone who commentated at Genesis. I think he hopped on the Jmook SFOP set from the couch commentary type thing. So Seal asks, you played 2 very different Fox versus Sheik sets in top 8 of Genesis. Quality of play on that day aside, what do you feel were some of the major differences between how Plup and Jmook approached the Fox matchup? I know you already spoke about this before, but I was wondering if there's anything specifically or anything that you want to highlight again.
I mean, I think that's mostly what I was saying earlier is like the gist of it. Like, I think me and Plup actually play the game a lot more similarly than I think some people might think. Like, I think we're both like pretty aggro, and we just kind of like, I think we're both W holders. We both just want to go forward. And like there were a lot of spots where like I was calling out Plup, like he'd like ledge dash. He was like shielding a lot, right? And I'm like, okay, he's ledge dash shielding. I'm gonna grab him. He's shielding on the platform. I'm gonna like abuse that. I'm just gonna be like super aggro, playing these mix-ups like very aggressive. And then against Jmook, it's like he just reacts to everything so well. Where like I don't think I can really make those kind of reads as much against him because like in order to do so, like I just need to, I don't know, he's just reacting to everything, you know, like I can't approach from too far because he's just gonna react and like F-tilt me, or I can't like overextend. I don't know, I just get like walled out really hard, and then comboed really hard, and I'm like I don't know, it's just a complete different game, I think. Like I don't know, it's just insane playing the difference. It just feels like 2 completely different like characters who are both good at like very different things, but I don't know. It's a crazy experience playing them back to back.
True. Yeah, definitely a little bit of a shock to see the swing that happened there, but I like to hear it highlighted again. So if Seal is the Jordan of questions, I think we know the LeBron, right? I think we've got another question, right, Ambi?
Yeah, so we have another question from the LeBron, so to speak, of questions from the Patron channel. So, Moki, we all know that you're the G-Coat, you're the greatest Canadian of all time. So, tell us, are there any Canadian players that you think are underrated and like due for a national breakout, other than people who are currently ranked top 100?
Keep in mind, this is from Zadreo, who is one of Alberta's favorite sons. Meaning, I like him. I don't even know if
Okay.
Alberta even knows him.
Okay. Yeah, I think, I mean, Canada, first things first, I know you said people who aren't top 100. I think right now, Canada top 100 is crazy. Like, we have so many people who are doing well, like, you know, Lunar Dusk and Zuppy and, like, Mateo made top 100 and then, like, soon say, like, I don't know. Canada, I think right now is stronger than it's ever been, probably, as a whole, which is crazy. It's actually insane. I think that a lot of the West Coast Canadian guys actually don't get as much love as they could. I haven't had the chance to play them that much, but I remember at like Pinnacle in Battle of BC, I played them in bracket a little bit, and I didn't get to play too many friendlies with them, but like I think Polo's super good. Amrak, I don't know if I've ever actually played Amrak in singles, but he is super good from what I've seen. He's incredibly fast, and everyone who like talks about playing him is like, this guy is like the truth. So I think Amrak's really good. I think Polo's really good. Obviously, like Elliot and like Webwipe and everyone. And I think in Ontario, like I don't know, we have people who are on the come up. I think like Faust, for example. I know he didn't make the top 100, but he is like I think pretty close in that range. Like he is good enough to do so if he travels more and like has good runs. I think. Especially like online, Faust beaten like a bunch of really good players, and I think he hasn't had like a breakout land performance yet, but he's very good. I don't know, he definitely could. Yeah, I don't know. I think Canada's in a very good spot right now to push and just like have a I guess take over. Honestly, is the goal. So. Yeah,
definitely a lot of really good underrated players from Canada.
Any PEINS players?
I think, like, I'm so bad with geography, so this might be very embarrassing. I think, like, Inky and Frog are both really, really good as well. I've played both of them, and I think, if they travel and have the chance to travel, they could also be in, like, that range of player. I don't know. I think Canada's just, like, crazy. And it's funny, too, because Canada, I don't think there's, like, a huge spotlight on a lot of regions, like especially the more out there provinces, but there's people Oh, also, I have one more person too. Is a perfect example of what I'm saying. Is BZ. I played BZ on ranked, and I think BZ is one of the players who I've ran into on like Slippy ranked, where I'm like, oh, this guy's like fucking good. Like BZ is.
He's
like,
a fiend too. He's always on.
Yeah, no, he is like good. I think that if he had the chance to travel, he would be like just disgusting. So I don't know. I think Canada just has a bunch of hidden bosses that people don't know because, you know, they just live in some like random province in the middle of fucking nowhere, and they don't have the means to like travel because it's so expensive and like such a hassle. But yeah, I don't know. Canada's really good right now.
Do you guys claim Squid?
I think so. I haven't talked to him that much. I talked to him at Genesis, but I think we claim him. I don't know. Everyone I've talked to is like, yeah, we claim Squid.
It's an interesting story.
I'm down.
Because he was in Montreal this past year. And he was playing some tournaments, and everyone's like, "Oh, what are you doing there?" And he's like, "I moved back." It was like, "What? What does that mean?" Yeah, I lived here when I was a child. Like I grew up here, and now I'm back. And it was this like piece of information that I think was not revealed before. Like I've never met anyone who knew that. Like I talked to SoCal people, and all of them were not privy to the fact that he was Canadian. I don't know. Maybe if I asked like Griffin or something, I'm sure that Griffin might know. But like I asked a lot of people, and this was news to a lot of SoCal people.
Yeah, I mean that's the kind of information you hide, man. Like
true.
People have it out for us. I don't know.
Especially is he Quebecois or is he just in Quebec right now?
I'm not too sure, honestly.
I don't think that's the type of thing. You definitely don't put that on your
No.
His seating would have been so bad. It would have been so bad
Yeah.
if he was Canadian.
Dude, what the fuck's this Quebecois guy doing? Like right? I mean even Lunar embraced it. Lunar decided to be the most annoying person he could be. Quebecois, Ices, and Puff, and that's the only reason why it worked out.
Yeah.
Squid's too earnest. It wouldn't have worked. But before we get into talking about how annoying Lunar is, we've got a question from a you know what, a similarly aggravating person, which is someone who we mentioned before. He's not here. He's on the teacups ride right now, spinning around. Edwin Budding asks, what do you understand about defeating Yoshi that the other foxes don't?
I think that people think against Yoshi like you have to camp him. As like a broad kind of like game plan is like camping, and I think camping him works because he's Yoshi. I think the matchup's terrible. I think that matchup is so bad for Yoshi, and I think camping works and it's a good strategy. But I also think he's like, in my mind, the character that you can actually be aggro against the most. Like he is the character that I think I can play the way I want to the most against, because like once you learn how to deal with his stuff in specific spots, like you can really, really put pressure on him. And there's a lot of little spots where like you can just like put pressure on him and like be very like aggressive, like. And I think that people are scared to do it because you need like a pretty deep understanding, I think, of like how to deal with like Yoshi specific stuff. But like I have played like more games against Yoshi than like any human should, probably, because my brother played Yoshi, and then now my roommate plays Yoshi, and like by proxy of my roommate playing Yoshi, like all these other Yoshis fucking I end up playing all the time too. I'm like I've played so much against Yoshi, and I think it's like, I don't know. I imagine I'm probably a hard fox to learn the matchup from, because a lot of the stuff that I do is like deeply ingrained in my head of just like, this works in this spot, and it's like intuitively like I felt it out, and it's from like experience. And I think that's like the main thing. It's just like I've played so much against them, and I know these like little spots and these little mix-ups I can play that like are like aggro mix-ups that just get me like so much, and like put a lot of pressure on the Yoshi player that like I think other people would opt to like not play at all and just try to play like a lot more defensive, a lot more safe, and like yeah, I don't know if that makes sense. I think I don't know, I've played I don't have anything super specific, but like even stuff, I guess. Okay, the one specific thing I always say is like edge guarding. Like I think people don't have the best understanding of how to edge guard Yoshi. Like I think his double jump you kind of track, You like when he's like double jumping below ledge, you just like track where he is, and if he's by the ground when it's ending, you try to like land on top of him, or you like try to hit him right before it ends, and you try to like play those little like. It sounds kind of gimmicky, but it's actually really good because it's a lot of onus on him to like. In order for him to beat Fox, he needs to do this crazy fucking technical stuff, which is like really hard to do accurately every time. So if you're putting the pressure on, he's gonna mess it up sometimes, and also like. Sometimes you're just gonna outplay him because you like chose right, and like there's a lot of things you can do that like skews like the mix-ups in your favor a lot. I don't know. I'm kind of like word vomiting, but hopefully it made sense a little bit.
Well, we'll see if like Mott Money beats Amsa, then maybe it makes sense.
Okay.
Well, if one person can take anything from it, but yeah, no, it's very cool. You know, you and Hugo Gonzalez, brothers in arms when it comes to crediting a brother playing Yoshi for beating Amsa.
Maybe so that's all it takes,
need.
man. That's all it takes.
And if you don't have that, then I hate to tell you,
yeah,
you might not be beating Amsa. No, that's very good to hear. Good to get you on without Blur here talking over you, because I feel like we've learned a lot about your thoughts on like specific matchups. Very, very cool to hear. But yeah, as we start to wind down, you know, we've got our unnamed segment that maybe should have been named, affectionately known by fans as Touching Grass. You might know there's a podcast called Touch Grass by Afghans. We should have taken it, Touching Grass. We should have copyrighted that shit. But also there is like a league team or something that has a podcast called Touching Grass. So I don't know what we're out here doing. Not that we came up with the title, but yes, we have the unnamed segment, affectionately known as Touching Grass, where I'm sure you remember we talked about stuff that has been going on in our lives that is not Melee related. I will start first, which is I've been doing a weirdly, it wasn't a lot of work, but it was work that felt like took up a lot of my time, which was working on a ranking of cartoon characters. So my brother is having a birthday party soon. He's an adult. He's older than I am. But sometimes, you know, it's like you say you like music, and then your grandma gives you like a guitar or socks every Christmas or something like that. He's like says he likes cartoons. I don't even know how much he likes them, but everyone's just like, okay, he's like the cartoon guy. So we are making a 64 cartoon bracket, like a cartoon character. The number one seeds are Bugs Bunny, Mickey Mouse, Homer Simpson, and SpongeBob SquarePants. If anyone has any interest in seeing the entire bracket, I posted it in the Patron channel of our Discord for some reason, and I will report back on who wins. But I don't even think I can't pick that as my thing for this week, because I'd be remiss if I did not pick the Philadelphia Eagles making the Super Bowl for the first time in 5 years. Now, I probably don't need to go too much into it. One, Edwin's not here, and two, I actually already kind of talked to Edwin about this, but yeah, we had not won a Super Bowl until we won 5 years ago, and we are back now. Basically, almost the entire team is different. Our wide receivers, our running back, our coach, our quarterback, our defense is almost entirely different. And yet here we are back again. I saw a lot of people saying, well, anyone could coach the team. You have a really good team. And then I saw a lot of people saying, well, anyone could quarterback the team. You've got a really good coach. So I don't really know what's happening here. I'm very happy. And it does feel weird that everyone's like, yeah, dude, of course this is happening. I've never not felt like the underdog in terms of watching sports. So I don't know how it's going to work out. But definitely has my attention and my like anxiety going off the rails for the next week and a half until the game starts. But yeah, that's what's going on with me. What about you, Eric? Ambi?
Yeah, so I recently had my last day at my former job now. So I've been recently unemployed, which is weird. Definitely a weird feeling to not have to go to work every day. I've been really busy because I'm using this time to do all the wedding planning that I haven't been doing in like the last 1 million years. But I guess in terms of something for this podcast, I watched The Wandering Earth 2, which is this this Chinese language film. It's a science fiction film based on a book by the guy who wrote The Three Body Problem. And it's good. It's they have to move the Earth out of the way of something that's going to hit the Earth. So they build all these crazy engines to turn the Earth into a ship and then have it travel to another star. And there's all this drama and like stuff. It's really interesting. But that was good. If you go watch it, there's 2 acts. So the first hour and a half of the movie is good, and then you think it's gonna end, and you are halfway. I was like ready to get up and leave the theater, and then fast forward 30 years, and we're like, okay, this is the second part of the movie. There's another hour and a half left in the movie. But a good movie, definitely one that I would recommend. I'm not a big movies guy. I don't really go to the movies that often, but I went to this one, and it was pretty good. So.
Yeah, I watched one film that was made in China, which was An Elephant Standing Still. Came out a few years ago. Very good. It was 4 hours long, so I sympathize with you on this very specific thing. What about you, Moki? What's been going on?
Honestly, I have not been touching grass. I've had COVID. I know. So I've had COVID. I've been playing way too much Grand Theft Auto. This is like the worst answer of all time. It's just I'm not happy with how much video games I've been playing. Cause I've just been playing Grand Theft Auto with my boys basically, a little bit. And I guess what I will say for this segment is what I'm planning on doing instead when I don't have COVID. I want to this month. I'm gonna start learning 16 star for Mario 64. That's what I want to do because I've always wanted to. I've been watching a lot of specifically Liam. Because he streams really late at night and I am up really late at night. So I've been watching a lot of Liam and like watching that stuff. And I've been over the last like year, I've gotten pretty into it. I'm still I don't know like shit about it, but I enjoy watching the number go green. You know.
Yeah.
I wanna learn that. So that's my goal in the next like couple days. Hopefully, I want to get that set up with like live split and stuff and like start doing that so I can like stream them and do that because that seems really fun. So.
You could always ask Armada.
Yeah.
Honestly,
16's a pretty easy route. I used to speedrun it a little bit. And it's pretty beginner friendly, I would say, as far as speedrun categories go. So I think you'll have a good time with that. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, I hope I can get a sub 20. That's my goal. I heard that's not that crazy of a goal, but that is it. I'll see from there, I guess.
I think Gerg, the Connecticut, New York, whatever. The tri-state, I guess, commentator and Ices player. Yeah, he's big in the speedrunning community. I think he's got like a 19 or something. I think he can get a 20.
Okay.
Why not?
Eric is like a moderator in a lot of the Super Mario 64 chats. So, shout outs to Gerg.
True, shout outs. Yeah, no, I think you can do it. I also fell down the Liam rabbit hole, which was, hey, I'm up. Why not? Why not watch? It's 2 a.m. Why not watch a couple hours of it? It's. And then
every run could be the run.
That's the thing. Every run could be the run.
I'm not going to bed. It's like 4 a.m., dude. What if it's at the time? I'm pissed because I stayed up till 5 a.m. the last couple nights. So I'm going to do it tonight too. Because if I miss it, if I go to bed tonight and miss it, I'll be pretty upset. So
I had that happen to me so many times, man. I can't even tell you. I'm watching the Liam run, and then I am like, I gotta go to bed, and then I see like, damn, he's PB'd. What the fuck? Yeah, it was bad because when I was watching, Batora was still running. So it'd be like, man, I'm watching Liam, and then, Liam ended his stream. Oh, Batora just started the stream in Japan. Oh, interesting. Yeah, but I know, I think that in the time that I kind of stopped watching every day and started watching more erratically and less, I think that there's been a lot, like, I know, I used to watch a ton of Slippery Nip in terms of 16 star. He's very good, but I think since then, it's like, I think Suigi got it, and then Ouija. It's just like, it's insane. It's so crazy.
Yeah, no, it's gotten bad, man. Like even Big House. Okay, I don't want to John, but it was like the day before finals, and I like went on Twitch. It's like 3 a.m. I'm like getting ready to go to bed, and I see Liam. It's like 30 minutes into a run, and he's up like 35 seconds. I'm like, fuck Big House. Like I need to see this.
The numbers, the green numbers going green is like the Discord red little bubble. It's like my brain My brain's not smart enough to overcome that. We like to think we're highly evolved until I see a number go green.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I've been super into that, so I'm stoked to learn it. I think it'll be a fun time.
I think it'll be super cool. And I also think that it is super cool to have you on, Moki. You're a wonderful guest. It's good to have you on. Next time you beat Plup, maybe we'll have you on. It seems to be the case.
Yeah,
seems to be just what you're doing.
Yeah, and honestly, I guess he's a part of every single run I have. That's pretty good. It's unfortunate. But no, thanks for having me. It's always a fun time.
Of course.
I'm sorry. I know we had to, work around my COVID a bit to do this because we wanted to do this like a week ago, but I appreciate it having me regardless.
Very happy to have you. Very good conversation here. I think that very few people would have been as good as a guest for the Genesis episode as you were. Where can people follow you if they want to see your tweets or maybe get ready for you streaming 16 star?
So it's just Moki_DOKY on everything, and I'm stupid now. I on hindsight, I should have spelt both words like the same, like with a Y, but it's MOKY_DOKIE. Which is a hassle, I guess, because everyone spells it both with a Y, and then nothing comes up. But yeah, I think it's that on everything, like Twitter, Twitch. My YouTube's like @Moki or something. I don't know. YouTube, just put Moki in the search bar, and you'll find me. I don't know what the URL is, but yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, if they want to find you, they'll find you. That's the good thing.
Oh.
But yeah, I appreciate you being on, and I appreciate you guys at home for watching. I know that this is a pre-recorded episode. You can see that my camera's really struggling to deal with the setting sun on my end. I'm sure I look completely washed out, but I appreciate everyone who's watching. If you want to watch these episodes live, presumably every other one is going to be actually live. They happen on twitch.tv/MeleeStats. You can catch them on YouTube after they air at the Melee Stats archive. While you're over there on YouTube, check out Melee Stats. That's where we have our long-form content. And twitter.com/MeleeStatsPod. It's where we're going to have daily results posting. We're going to have links to some of the other stuff that we do. And you can find articles that we have over on MeleeStats.co, such as Monday Morning Marth and Wednesday Melee. If you just love everything that we do, and you want to support us, the best way is patreon.com/MeleeStats. You can do so there, or that's also the link that you go to when Edwin has tricked you into taking a bet. You've unfortunately bet Eddie Mexico versus I don't know, Panda. That's the link that you go to if you lose a bet with Edwin Bunning. But yes, I appreciate everyone for watching, and we will see you soon. I know that there's not an event coming up soon, but we will be back probably in 2 weeks from now. And hopefully we've got a cool episode for you, because we got some guests who are interested in stuff. We've got some ideas that we have. So hopefully next time we talk to you, we've got some good stuff for you. But we'll see you then. Peace.